So where to even begin with this one? Got a lot of explaining to do. On the last episode, I kind of left you with a bit of a cliffhanger, basically saying, where the heck am I right now? And the short answer to that is I ended up in Maine, right on the East Coast. Now this is exactly how that happened. So the company that sponsors me, Origin USA, are based out of Maine. In fact, they're a completely American company. They take pride in making everything that they make in the USA, and all of that work gets done in Maine. Every single year, they host a Jiu-Jitsu getaway camp called the Origin Immersion Camp out at a fantastic campground in Maine at Mount Vernon called Camp Laurel. I got on with Origin in late 2019, so I had planned in 2020 to make sure to hit the Origin Immersion Camp. Of course, 2020 being 2020, that wasn't going to happen. When the opportunity came around again for 2021, they were able to do it with some COVID guidelines. Everybody had to get a negative test, but it was on, so I couldn't miss it. I had to get there. I got in contact with Brian Littlefield, who is the head of the nutritional department of Origin, and good friends. We talk a lot online, and he said, come on out, we got to have you out. So I made arrangements. Now, part of trying to get across the border from Canada to the US right now, which is part of the main goal of what we're doing with the RV, is getting down to the US, is surprisingly difficult to do on the driven border. To drive across is basically impossible right now. But there are ways of flying across, as weird as that sounds. So I looked into everything I needed to do to get across flying down to the US. And it turns out I needed a negative COVID test, which was great because I needed that for the camp anyway. So it was kind of a double whammy right there. I got my test done, got my flights booked, woke up early in the morning to head down to Calgary to take my flight, which would route from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, down to Texas, and then would route from there all the way to Portland, Maine. It would end up being 11 full hours of travel. With all my planning of this travel, that I didn't realize until I got there was there was a once in 30 years event that was happening in Maine proper, and that was a hurricane. Thankfully, we basically just got the outskirts of it and just got a lot of rain. But because of that, a lot of people's travel that were coming a day later than me ended up getting either canceled or delayed. Nonetheless, a ton of people still showed up on time. They got their flights through, and I would meet up with one of my friends from Instagram and a very well-known rapper on YouTube named Mac Lethal. Mac is a purple belt in BJJ, very well-known rapper, and is also sponsored by Origin. So I had done podcasts with him in the past. I talked to him tons on Instagram, but it was the first time that we've actually met in person. And both of us would end up getting picked up by Brian Littlefield himself. So at the same time, I'll be meeting Mac for the first time and Brian for the first time in the truck picking us both up.
We're here. We're here in the devastating hurricane right now.
Mac Lethal just flew in. We got Brian
Welcome to Maine.
Yeah, boys. I hear we're going to do a camp. Is that what's up?
That's what's up.
So excited.
Summer camp for adults who never got to go to camp as a kid.
It was about a 45-minute to an hour-long truck drive out to Camp Laurel. When we got there, Brian helped us unload stuff into his Rhino and shuttled us down to check in at camp. And let me tell you, this campus is incredible. In fact, it's kind of world-renowned. This was a camp that the Obamas sent their children to. It's very highly sought after, And you can tell just the work and the money that goes into this place. It's pretty spectacular. The camp itself was broken down over 7 days, that each day would have 3 full training sessions. What's more, it was broken down into 3 different training areas that we would break off white belts into one area, blues, purples into another area, and brown and blacks into another area. But some of the training would have everybody involved, and the mat area was huge for that, but was still completely shoulder-to-shoulder jam-packed because of the amount of people that came out for the Origin Immersion Camp. The instructors for the week were pretty phenomenal as well. In fact, most people watching this will know most of them by name, including 6th degree black belt Ricardo Liborio, the owner of Origin, Pete Roberts, the other owner of Origin, Jocko Willink, ADCC gold medalist Dean Lister, as well as popular female BJJ black belt competitor Danielle Kelly. The training sessions were pretty cool. For the amount of people that were there, everybody got to ask questions who needed questions. There were even full-on question and answer sessions, specifically for people who needed some more elaboration on either a technique or some problems they were having rolling. And then every single session would end with an open mat, where you get to test out the techniques that you just learned. You get to roll with people of all levels. There were literally dozens of different black belts there. Everybody was very nice and accommodating, and we're just all enjoying the experience together. At about Tuesday during the week, my body was really feeling it. This was not just the travel, getting there, the jet lag from the travel, but also just the constant training. 3 times a day for a few days in a row at that point was really hammering my body, and I had a new opportunity for me, something that I had always wanted to do that I never had the chance until then, was going into an ice plunge. You'd think as a Canadian this would be something we do all the time, but this is my first time ever trying it. I had a chance when I was at a training camp with Robert Drysdale as a purple belt, but the lineup was just too big and I decided, not worth it, I'll just deal with the pain. This kind of happened by chance. I was just catching some footage while walking around the camp, and some guys were like, hey Drew, come over and try the ice bath. We all just did it, you should do it too. They didn't have to ask me twice. I went back to my lodge, got my shorts on, and went in for a 2-minute cold plunge in a very, very cold, icy bath tank. To be honest, besides the temperature being cold, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, but you never really know until you get in. All I knew, everybody who had done it talks about having to control your breath. So that was the majority of what I was trying to do. They said I had 2 minutes in this thing. That's what they suggested everybody get, was a full 2 minutes. So I had one person who had a timer going, another person filming for me, and all I needed to do was just get down low, get the water basically up to my chin, and then focus on my breathing. At first, the ice water really burned, just like you would expect. It's just a shock to the system. As your nerves started to acclimatize to the cold, it started feeling colder and colder and colder, but to a degree, maybe about the minute and a half mark, where the cold turned into numb. And that was actually better than the burning sensation at the beginning. There was no point where it was comfortable, for sure. In fact, I don't know how much longer I would have been able to stay in there if I was just sort of hanging out to sea. But I was happy when they said the 2 minutes was up. I sort of crawled my way back out. And then as I got into the warm air, basically the opposite happened, where I started feeling the cold in my skin that started turning to burning again. And then by the time I had warmed up, which took, I don't know, 20 to 30 seconds where I could start to feel comfortable again, I felt great. In fact, the effects of it, I would feel for the rest of the week. The difference in muscle pain was probably 80 to 90% better from the moment before I stepped in to 5 minutes after getting out. Would highly recommend for anybody who's feeling overtrained or has severe muscle soreness. That ice bath is a total game changer. I'm really glad I did it.
There you go.
Tuesday actually had a lot of big things going on. In fact, one of the things was because of Hurricane Henry that came in when we were first flying in, the flights for both Jocko and Dean Lister got delayed from LA, and they wouldn't show up until Tuesday that week. So on the Tuesday, those guys would fly in, and one of the big things that people who have been to the Origin camp are excited for, and Pete takes lots of pride in being an Easterner, is a lobster cookout. We would have 800 lobsters brought in for everybody. And it was one of the things that Pete delayed this time to make sure that Jocko was here for it. During one of the training sessions on Tuesday, I had one of the main manufacturing coordinators, Nicole, come over and hand me an envelope with my name on it. So I took it back with me after training to my cabin and checked out what it was. It was a VIP dinner invitation that was only handed out to a select few people at the camp and would be featuring a private cookout with a phenomenal chef named Jack Arnold. And that would be happening on Wednesday. But there is even more happening this Tuesday. In fact, being the first night that Jocko was there, he was going to start teaching in the evenings.
With a guy like Pete, it's a little lower, but we're just gonna get that thing out and start working some moves from here. But just get here a little bit with somebody, feel a little bit of that pressure that you have in the control, and we'll just do a couple moves from there. Cool. So I call it the antenna. What do you guys call it? Anyone call it anything else? I call it the antenna too. You do? Yeah. We call it the antenna. That's right. So just feel that a little bit, give it to your partner, give it a shot, and then we'll work a couple moves from there. 1, 2, 3.
Everybody was very excited for that and looking forward to getting some information about Jiu-Jitsu from Jocko Willink. But while he was teaching his instructional portion of the evening class, he had a bit of an unexpected guest. We would end up getting dojo stormed by none other than Master Ken himself, the grandmaster and originator of the martial art Almeida.
Greetings, everybody. Greetings.
Master Ken,
Yeah,
how do you feel being around all these lower level black belts?
it's kind of a waste of time because I have to spend so much time untraining them. You know? That's the problem with learning a bunch of bullshit, is that you have to go in and you have to extract the bullshit and then replace it with good training.
On a level of 1 to 10, how bullshit are we talking?
Well, I haven't gotten to see very much of it. The little bit that I've seen is useless. No, people don't walk around in a gi in the street, so you don't want to train in gi. But then you don't want to train in no gi unless you're training naked. Naked fighting has some utility because you never know when you're going to end up in a fight at a nude beach or in a Turkish bathhouse. That's happened to me twice.
I'm so glad you're here to correct us. Thank you for coming.
As you should be. Yeah. Yes, it is.
What's your name? Cole. Give a hand to Cole. Sometimes I'll just, I don't know whose this is. We'll just grab a bag here. I'll just pull some things out of it and see what we can do for self-defense here. Maybe you can vape your way. I don't know who's this is sorry about that. We'll disinfect it. Utilize that for self-defense, okay? We have a move in Ameridote called the fog of war. I see someone coming up. That is a 10th planet move. No. I might get sued for this one. Now, when you are fighting, oftentimes you are striking. I don't know what you guys do. You like to roll around with each other, but in real life, people strike, okay? If you injure yourself, what do you injure? When you strike. Hand, what do you injure? Feet, very good, okay. That's why you need to have another move you can utilize for self-defense. That's why we have a move that utilizes over 17 different muscle groups. You can utilize to defend yourself. That's called the thrust of freedom. Smart move. Thrust of freedom. Make sure you have enough room to move. This is a dangerous move, okay? Hands on the hips. Here we go. Hands on the hips. Okay? First thing we do, C-step, 45-degree angle, and a front thrust. Looks like this. Go. Good.
Opposite 45. Go. Good. Now we get back online. Here. Now we do a pull drag thrust. Looks like this. Go. Good. Now we do what is called a triple thrust. It's a combination. Okay, I'll do it from the side so you can see it like this. Looks like this. Ready. Okay, go. Okay, no, that's not right. Notice when I do it, I'm not going front and then back, okay? I'm going front, back to the center, front, back to the center, front, center, front, center, front, center. Okay, attention. Salute.
Hey, let's give Master Ken a hand.
After Master Ken showed us all the things we had done wrong and showed us what we should be doing instead, we ended up finishing Jocko's demonstration, doing some practice, and then getting to rolling. And one of the people that I had been looking forward to rolling with all week, we had been getting to know each other, was JP Dinnell. Now JP is one of the elite snipers from the SEAL teams that Jocko commanded, who holds a purple belt in BJJ. He's just a great guy to talk to anyways, but you know, you never really know somebody until you roll with them, so I had to get some training in. So we had decided that Tuesday was going to be the day. We found each other on the side of the mat. I had just a really technical training session. I was very impressed with his level of technique as well as his determination and focus during training. I could tell just by the way that he rolled that he really takes everything that he does seriously, and not too seriously, but you know that he is really trying to learn and he's really trying to improve with every session. That was really cool to see. All of this happened between Saturday to Tuesday on the Immersion Camp week. The next episode is just going to be about Wednesday, because Wednesday brought it all together. The true spirit of the Origin and the Immersion Camp would be put on display, and we would get to see the American spirit in action in a big way.